NATO has admitted that it has killed civilians in one of its attacks on the Libyan capital, Tripoli. The Western Military Alliance says one of its airstrikes in Tripoli early on Sunday did not hit its intended target. NATO says a weapon system failure may have caused the incident. Libya says at least 9 civilians were killed and over a dozen others wounded in the attack. Libyan government spokesman Moussa Ibrahim says a 4-member Syrian family is among the dead. NATO's admission comes after it took responsibility for attacking revolutionary forces in the eastern town of Brega on Thursday. NATO is conducting airstrikes in Libya to implement the UN Security Council Resolution 1973, which calls for protection of civilians. But the Libyan government says the bombings have left hundreds of civilians dead. For more discussion on the Libya war, we're joined by Abayomi Azikiwe, editor and Pan-African Newswire through Skype. Mr. Azikiwe, thank you for joining us. First question, NATO's air raids continue killing innocent civilians. How long will the UN let these innocent civilians be used as casualties for a greater cause?
Well, it's unfortunate that this is going on. As you just reported, the Libyan government is saying that 9 civilians have been killed in these latest airstrikes. This is really unfortunate. It's outrageous. And the people of the United States, and I believe the people of the NATO countries, do not support this type of unwarranted and illegal killing of civilians or anyone in another country which has not attacked the United States. It has not attacked any of the other NATO countries. And these are not the first civilian casualties that have been reported in regard to the U.S. and NATO bombing of Libya. Many other civilians have been killed. There were attempts made on the life of the leader of the country. His youngest son was killed. 3 of his grandchildren were killed. They have bombed schools, communication facilities, ports, ships that are involved in commercial activity in the country. So this is really an illegal war. It's a total violation of not only international law, but also the constitutional law of the United States. That's why the Congress has passed a resolution, if the House of Representatives passed a resolution, to block funding for the continued war in Libya. And this is not popular at all in the United States. 60% of the people in the United States openly oppose what is going on in Libya.
Well, Mr. Azikiwe, that's quite interesting, especially with you calling it a legal war. Now, U.S. President Barack Obama says not to use the word hostilities with America's involvement in Libya. And, of course, Defense Secretary Robert Gates calls American actions there a limited kinetic operation. Is that not contradictory to exactly U.S.'s involvement in the war-torn country and especially to Resolution 1973?
Well, it's been reported that over 1 million people have been displaced from Libya. There are civilians that are dying every day, not only from the NATO bombs, but from lack of food, medicine, clean drinking water. There are migrant workers and refugees who are stranded at sea, whose boats have capsized, who have been left at sea by NATO and the other humanitarian groups who claim that they're operating in Libya, including the United Nations, to die of thirst, to die of starvation. This is clearly a war against the population of a country. There's no way that it can be explained as a limited operation. Civilians are dying, government personnel are dying, people have been displaced in the hundreds of thousands. The conditions of refugees in Tunisia are just deplorable, and all of this could have been prevented if the U.S. and the NATO forces had worked with the African Union to try to mediate some type of peaceful resolution to the conflict inside of Libya. Anytime you set out to overthrow a government of a country, the people are going to resist you. And this is what is going on in Libya, and they've been bombing the country now for 3 months, for 3 whole months, and the government there has not broken, and they say they're not going to surrender. So how many more bombs are they willing to drop? How many more civilians are they willing to kill? How many more Libyans, period, are they willing to attack in order to achieve what they claim is a victory against this country of 6 million people?
Well, Mr. Azikiwe, that was a great point you just made, and that brings it to my final question. With that being said, what kind of time span do you give for Muammar Gaddafi and his regime. How much time do they have left?
I have no idea how much time the Libyan people have left. I'm not viewing this as a war against Gaddafi as a leader, because they have destroyed the property, the ports, the government installations, the civilian lives of people inside Libya, whether they support the government or whether they're in opposition to the government. There are people who support the Transitional National Council. Their fighters have been killed as well by the NATO forces. So it doesn't matter who they say they're supporting. People on both sides are being killed. The TNC supporters are being killed by NATO, and so are the supporters of the Libyan government. So I think it would be wise for the people in Libya to try to resolve their own internal problems themselves and not rely on NATO to try to solve their problems, because it has resulted in a calamity for both the supporters of the government as well as the opposition to the government. And this is what the African Union has advocated. They have advocated a peaceful resolution to this conflict, negotiations,
Right.
and the immediate assistance of civilians and those who are in need of humanitarian aid.
Well, Mr. Ezekiel, thank you for your thoughts and inputs on World News here on Press TV. That was Abayomi Ezekiel, editor of Pan-African Newswire, joining us and sharing his views on the Libyan war.